Okay, welcome to Web Accessibility for Content Providers. My name is Todd McGill. I'm with Strategic Communications. If you have any questions on this material, you can email me at tmcgill@uci.edu, or you can give me a ring at 824-7919. This presentation is adapted from another presentation titled A Principles-Based Approach to Web Accessibility that was given by Jared Smith and Jonathan Whiting of WebAIM. Alright, this is part 2, and here I'll show you how to make your markup accessible. And for clarification, markup refers to HTML code. So we'll start with headings. Headings provide hierarchical structure to a document and are defined with H tags. There are 6 levels of headings, each defined with a different tag. H1 defines the topmost heading, and H2 through H6 fall underneath it. When selecting a heading, apply the step-down, jump-up rule. This means that if you're defining a heading that is going to be a lower level than the previous heading, it must be only one level lower. That's the step down part. If you're defining a heading that is not a lower level than the previous heading, it can be at the same level or any higher level. That's the jump up part. So on screen are a couple examples using headings. The example on the left shows how to properly hand code a heading structure. The example on the right shows where to select the heading setting in the CMS WYSIWYG. For CMS users, it may be difficult to know exactly what heading level to start with. In many cases, the content you're working with is only a piece of the overall page content, so it's possible to unknowingly violate the step-down, jump-up rule if you don't know what heading structure is used in the preceding page content. Be sure to consult with your developers about this. Okay, we're going to do a little hands-on demo now for working with H tags and headings, and we'll start with some hand coding. You can see here I've already pre-filled in a simple outline for a country report, and now what we need to do is we need to insert the H tags. In this example, our highest level tag will be H2. So we'll insert that here. And then we need to step down to H3. Step down once again to H4. This is at the same level, so H4 again. And H4 once again here. So now we need to jump up. We'll go back up to H3. And then step down again to H4. Okay, now we're going to jump up back to H2 because I'm going back to a different country now. I'm finished with Greece, I'm going to go to Poland. My previous heading was an H4. I'm going to jump up to H2. And then everything under Poland will follow a similar step-down, jump-up structure. Like so. Now let's take a look at what this looks like. And there we go. Alright. Now we're going to do the same thing, but using the CMS WYSIWYG. So I will just get it ourselves to a baseline here. Okay, so here's the same content, but whoops. Here's the same content, but now we're going to insert the H tags using the WYSIWYG controls. So make sure Greece is H2, politics is H3. This is where I'm selecting the heading settings from right here, this little drop-down menu. Alright, political parties, H4, formulations, H4, these ellipses, H4, economy, H3, tourism. H4, ellipses, H4, Poland, H2, and ellipses, H3. Okay, now we can see what this looks like on the back end. H2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3. All right, so that's the same as what we did for our hand coding example, but we accomplished it using the WYSIWYG controls. Okay, semantic markup. Semantic markup means that the HTML tags used convey the meaning of the content as opposed to defining the presentational rules. For example, in a list of bad tags, there's the I tag. In the past, this tag was used to italicize a portion of text. This is no longer considered good practice. Instead, use the EM tag to indicate that text should be emphasized. The presentation of the emphasized text can be defined elsewhere, such as in a linked style sheet. The good, bad, avoid lists on the left are more targeted to hand coders. If you use the CMS, you're sheltered from a lot of these considerations because the CMS will put in the appropriate tags for you. Okay, this is a hands-on demo for semantic markup, and I'll be referencing the good, bad, avoid list that you saw on the previous slide, and I'll be demoing the good parts. I will be ignoring the bad parts because I don't want to teach you bad practices, and I'll also touch on the single item I had under the avoid section of that list. So let's start with some hand coding, and in the good section, the first item was the usage of class attributes for your tags. So let's just start with some simple text here, enclosed in a span tag, like so. And left alone, this text will just be plain text. It's not going to have any sort of stylization or decoration applied to it. But if you wanted to decorate it or stylize it, one option you have is to assign a class attribute to the tag. And the value of the class attribute is going to depend on how you have your CSS defined. And that can vary from site to site. Your CSS may be different than mine. So for the sake of example, I'll just put in some arbitrary value here, my class. To get actual values for this attribute, just talk to your developers. They should be able to give you a list of values that you can use to stylize or decorate your text. Okay, moving on to the second item in the good section. That was the usage of the strong tag. Out of the box, what this tag does is it applies a bold effect to your text. So let's just take a look at that. So you can see the text is bold here. That's assuming, when I say out of the box, I mean it's possible to override those styles if you're a developer, but assuming that your developers haven't overridden the stylization for the strong tag, it will apply a bold effect to your text. Okay, the third item in the good list was the use of the EM tag, and out of the box, this will italicize your text like so. All right, now I'm skipping over the bad list because I don't want to teach you bad practices. I will go straight to the single item in the avoid section. And what I had here, let's just span. Okay, back to plain text. Okay, so what I had here in the avoid list was the usage of the style attribute. The style attribute is totally legal, and it can be used. It's acceptable, but should only be used sparingly and when you absolutely have to. And the reason for this is that it can create sometimes it can create some difficulties to your developers and how they have their CSS is defined. So if you absolutely need to use it, you can use a style attribute to write inline CSS to define your text styling. So in this example, let's just say text decoration underline. All right, so if I want to underline the text, I can just type in the CSS right here into the value of the style tag, and then you can see the effect right here. Again, avoid this unless you absolutely need to use it. All right, now I will show you using the WYSIWYG controls how to apply some of these styles. So type right into the text entry area here, and to make your text bold, boom, text is bold, and you can see what tags are applied by this little indicator right here. So it applied the strong tag around the text, like so. If you wanted to italicize it, right there, it applied the EM tag to this text. And these are the ones that I would say you can freely use. Underline, this one, it'll underline it, but again, it uses style tags, or style attributes rather, which you want to avoid as much as possible. So my recommendation is just stick to the bold and italics. Okay, so that's the demo. Back to the presentation. So next up is part 3, and in part 3 I will go over accessible links.